Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Property Particulars podcast. And my guest today is Eloise Butterworth. Hi, Eloise.
Hi, Doug. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. And also, you're my first guest on the Property Particulars podcast in our new office location, which is here at Savoy Hill House. So welcome again, even though you've been up a few times to this office. Yeah. So to start with, who are you, Eloise? Why are you on my podcast? Which team?
Well.
So which team are you from here in LA? And a little bit about maybe your journey.
So I am the compliance manager at Leicester Aldridge. I am based down in the Bournemouth office, and basically I oversee all things relating to anti-money laundering, regulatory matters. So we are basically an extension of every fee-earning team in the firm.
Yeah. And for us, especially, we do need a lot of help with that, which we'll come on to in a little bit. And then, how long have you been with us at LA?
So I've actually worked at Leicester Aldridge twice.
Yes, you're one of the boomerangs.
I am part of the Boomerang Club. There's quite a few of us.
Yeah.
So I worked here for about 7 years before, had a short stint away, and was coaxed back into the family 3 years ago.
Okay, perfect. And actually, you say that, and there is a lot of people, which actually testament to the LA brand and the culture that we have here, because we do have lots of people. Of course, people move on sometimes, but if we can tempt you back, that's a good thing. So I don't think you and I knew each other the time before when you were here, but since you've come back, obviously we've worked closely together. And so how big is your team now?
My team, it seems like it's constantly growing.
Yeah.
There's about a dozen of us based down in Bournemouth, dealing with all things compliance and data protection.
And we see it growing, because actually even just last week when you came up, there was 4 of you that came up for the day to see us for some training, which again we'll get onto in a little bit. All right, cool, thank you. Let's move on to a little bit to how you and I work closely together. Not just me, my whole team, obviously, but we do come to you for lots of things. But why? I always think as well that possibly we're one of the teams that asks you the most questions. So why are you involved with the residential property team?
So from a compliance and regulatory perspective, residential property is what we call a high-risk work area. Just because of the risk of there being money laundering issues and fraud. So my team work really closely with your team to make sure that everyone knows what they're meant to be doing and that we're protecting our clients in the best way possible.
And that can be, well, first of all, that's from training perspective for all of us, so all of our different types of training, but then also, like I feel sometimes we even get you involved on specific cases. Whenever there's a query, we come to you. And for us, that begins pretty much with source of funds and source of wealth, the big questions. And the difference between the two, which sometimes people don't know either.
No, that is our favourite. That's our favourite topic on a Friday afternoon when Doug rings me to say, I've got something to talk through.
Can we run through this quickly?
I think it's because no two cases are the same. So the benefit of having the team available to your team and on hand to help is that we are just at the end of the phone. As I say, we're based down in Bournemouth, but we're an extension of your team and we're here to help you guys.
And we have a lot of complex ones, and I suppose sometimes we can even just actually ask for that. If I'm happy with the source of funds, but I just have a little niggle and I want just a second, somebody to look at it and give it another view, then I'll come to you or your team, and we send you everything basically and get you to check it for us in addition.
Yeah, I think it's just a really useful extension of your service that you can provide to your clients. We obviously, you guys specialise in high value, complex, sometimes overseas clients. And so that our expertise just adds to that service that you're able to provide.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned the overseas clients there. So, we have a wealth of international clients coming to us from different countries all around the world, and so sometimes we've forgotten. Obviously, we have an online hub area for compliance purposes where we can always go and check things, but the different jurisdictions have a different kind of risk attributed to them.
So different countries, different jurisdictions pose different types of risks for what I specialise in. So we look at where the money's coming from, why they might be instructing us. But obviously, because your client base here in London and then are based down in Bournemouth with sandbanks and other high-value properties, it's very popular with the international market.
Yeah, exactly. And when we're saying high risk and getting compliance to check us, we're not saying no.
No.
It's a lot of these clients, we don't want to scare potential clients away. It's actually helping them and doing the right thing to make sure that we're all compliant for different reasons.
Absolutely. I think we are lucky enough to have the skills and services here that actually mean we are perfectly well equipped to deal with that high value work that a lot of firms do simply have to turn away because they don't have the expertise.
Yeah.
We cover all sorts here, don't we?
Yeah. And can you, I can think of so many examples of where it's complex. You throw in an international buyer, throw in a trust, throw in loans between family.
Little
it gets
bit
quite
of crypto.
Complex. Yeah, crypto, gosh.
Or, some of Doug's cases can seem like an exam question.
Yes.
But they're real. They give me plenty of material for my training.
Yeah, good. That's what I like to do. Cool. All right, let's move on a bit as well. So one of the questions when I'm sending our source of funds and source of wealth form to our clients is sometimes people immediately just say, what's the difference between the two?
Yeah.
So it's a simple thing for us because we're doing it day to day, but what would you be your quick response to? Like, what is the difference between source of funds and source of wealth?
So source of funds is the location that the money is in now, so where you're sending it from to us for your transaction. Source of wealth is how you accumulated that body of wealth, which exceeds the amount that you're spending throughout your lifetime. It's not to forensically account for every penny that you own.
Yeah, exactly. And we will then kind of build up a bit of a picture. We actually sometimes like it when clients give us too much information on it, because then it usually means I can pass them through compliance much quicker. We do use your resource a lot, so thank you for you and your team. And then very recently, just to switch a little bit, we have had, because your team came up last week to give us some more very important, at time of recording, training to do with sanctions.
Yes, so we don't just deal with sort of anti-money laundering risk and fraud risk, we deal with other risks such as sanctions, which is, super prevalent in our sector at the moment because of global events.
Yeah, and so what has prompted the new regulations that are coming out?
The SRA have updated their guidance. So part of my role is to keep up to date with that guidance, check over all of Leicester Aldridge's policies and processes, and then update them and train staff on those updates. So we do that so you don't have to keep up to date with all of that stuff.
Exactly. Well, no, and it's always very helpful. And also when you tend to come up to London to do the training, because from our point of view, busy doing our job and the team is busy, but doing a training session in person with you and your team is so much more valuable to us than either doing an online training course, which some firms may still use that as well. But do you like the training aspect of it?
I love it. I love talking.
Yes. I think that maybe in our next training session, I might even see you with this microphone.
I might take this. I might keep it. It might go walkies.
Okay, well, I'll need to make sure for my next podcast episode that I'm not one microphone down.
No, I love my visits up to the London office. I feel like we've got a really close working relationship with all the teams up here.
Yeah, and that's ultimately what is the good positiveness of having a great compliance team in a high risk area such as residential property for us, especially doing all of the high volume work that we do. We really enjoy working with all of your team, and we love seeing you in the London office, and our team in Bournemouth obviously love seeing you when you do training sessions there as well, so thank you. Okay, enough of compliance and risk and sanctions, because I'm sure there'll be enough waiting for me downstairs when I go back down to my desk. So our podcast is called Property Particulars. So what about you personally, Eloise? Have you bought and sold property before? Do you have a property now? Any tales to tell?
I do. I'm so sympathetic to what our clients go through because I last moved house a couple of years ago. It was a simultaneous sale and purchase.
Okay. And that's stressful in its
own.
Oh,
it was so stressful. It was on, then it was off, then it was on, then it was off. It was really difficult, and it came with planning permission, so the planning clock was running down all the time that it was delayed. So, yeah, I'm really
Interesting.
sympathetic to how stressful it is for our clients.
Yeah, and did you move on the same day as well?
Yep.
See, I think so. I've never done that personally yet, but like when I speak to some of my clients, and as we're getting once we've exchanged and we're getting up to that day, and I talk through like what they have to do, and like, you know, you've got to try and be out by lunchtime and move because we can't use your money on the next transaction, and it becomes more stressful. So you got through it okay, and you're in your house.
We did. We're through. We're in, and then you just sort of put it behind you, don't
Yeah.
you? But it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. All right, thank you for that. Okay, and then to finish our podcast, what I've tried to be doing recently on some of them is just do a little few fun, quick fire questions, if you don't mind, job related or maybe related to the area that you live in. So to begin with, what is the best thing about your job here at LA?
That I get to interact with every team in the business.
Good, I like it, I'll take it. Where is one place locally or maybe up here in London that if you had a couple of hours off, you would go for a relax, a walk or something like that?
Back home, it would definitely be Sandbanks.
Would it?
I feel like Sandbanks has already made an appearance in the podcast.
Has.
But if you live down on the south coast, you can't beat a beach
place.
walk at Sandbanks.
Yeah, and then so it has appeared on the podcast before, and then I'll repeat what I've said before is that I've still not been.
I don't know how.
Each time I come down to Bournemouth office, I'm always saying to the gang down there, like, I want to go out and have a look and have a nosy.
We need
obviously.
to do a compliance field trip.
Perfect. I am there for it. Let's do the next training session there. And what about like either a pub, a coffee shop, somewhere that if you had people visiting, you'd take them for a nice meal or a drink?
Probably somewhere in the New Forest. Ooh. Nice cozy pub, tucked away, maybe on Beaulieu River.
Okay.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Idyllic.
Yeah, we've been to a few events in the New Forest before. I do. Yeah, it's beautiful down there.
It is beautiful. There's loads of hidden gems.
Okay, cool. All right, Eloise, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Property Particulars.
Thank you for having me.
And join us again soon for another episode of Property Particulars podcast. And make sure you check out our social channels at Leicester Aldridge Property on Instagram.